Hello, it's Debbie Gilbert from the Business Awards show, and I'm also the founder of the Best Business Women Awards. And today, our episode is going to be talking about all things health, but particularly around complementary therapies, because I'm joined today by Nicola Court from Path to Wellbeing, who has been practicing for 26 years. Incredible amount of time, Nicola. And we're going to be talking to her about her business. Um, and all of the services and things that she offers, and she can introduce it better than I can because she does so many amazing things. So I'm going to let her talk about her business today. She was a silver winner in our health and beauty category last year in the Best Business Women Awards. And she can practice with people face to face, covering fertility issues, gynaecology issues, but also, you know, anyone who needs help with their health. I think you probably could help, Nicola. It doesn't even have to be local to you, because we spoke about that before we came onto the podcast. So let's start off by getting Nicola to introduce herself and her business. So welcome, Nicola.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
So let's encapsulate what you do, Nicola. Let's start off with that.
So I am a fertility acupuncture specialist. I have extensive training in women's health gynaecology. So that doesn't just include fertility, that also includes anyone who basically has periods or not. From teenage girls right up until menopause, postmenopause. So anything, if you're a girl, I can treat you.
Amazing. And you said it better than me because I was trying to get my introduction right before we went on the podcast. And I thought she does so many things and it's just incredible what you do and so needed. So talk about what took you on this path all those years ago, 26 years ago. What has been your business journey?
Well, I'll be completely frank. I was bored. Um,
I
I
love that.
I was in a job. I originally trained as a photographer, and I ended up in a job which was making me quite depressed. I was doing extremely long hours for no money and for a company that um, didn't really care. And I was taking pictures of babies in mother care.
Oh,
And I
I
was
had that done with my eldest. Yeah, I remember that.
slowly losing the will to live. I'll be
Mm.
honest, it was so, and I needed to go back and do something in order to stimulate my brain. And it was at a stage I didn't care what it was. I just needed to go and learn something, and I chose to do massage.
Okay.
I then loved it, without sounding egotistical, was fairly good at it. And I then went on and did more training in sports massage whilst I was still working for this company, and then lost my job. They folded, they went into liquidation. I had no job. I'm going,
Mm.
well, I've got these two qualifications, and I'm very much a person of I want to look back and think, well, at least I tried something. At least I
Mm.
gave it a go. And if it doesn't work, then that's fine. I'll go and do something else. But very quickly realized how physically tiring doing, 7, 8 hours of massage a day is. So, and I was getting patients that I wasn't able to help at all because their
Mm.
conditions were too complex. So I looked into various things and settled on doing traditional Chinese acupuncture, which I started training in 2004.
Fascinating. So, for people listening to this that they might think of acupuncture as having needles stuck in themselves. What are the huge benefits to acupuncture? Because I know I've had it for pain management. I've got a chronic back condition and I've found it really useful over the years. So what things can it help with and how on earth does it work? Does anybody know?
I'm sorry, we've only got a short amount of time. And we
Is it
have
a big,
to go
big
back
topic?
about 2,000 years worth of history.
Oh, wow. 2000 years. That's amazing.
So what's very fascinating, actually something that this is a modality of medicine that has been around for a long time. And you can completely go down the woo-woo, the esoteric, you can look at it that way, or you can look at it from a very biomechanical, scientific, physiological point of view, which is how I like to combine my clinic. I do both, and I use whichever method. Now, something I learned this weekend, bearing in mind I've been doing this for 20 years, when they mapped the channels, the meridians in Chinese medicine, we've got over 300 acupuncture points. It now turns out they've worked out that every single acupuncture point directly corresponds to a peripheral nerve.
Oh.
They missed 10 off. They missed 10. And that was going back 2000 years. They were already mapping the nervous system in the way that they understood it. So that to me absolutely blows my mind, that their knowledge was so great. So every time that we put a needle in, we are directly connecting to the nervous system, to the brain. And so whenever you do anything, you are directly influencing the nervous system. So much of our illnesses, our modern day illnesses, are very much nervous system related. And so we take people out of fight or flight mode, which is when your sympathetic nervous system is dysregulated, and we can shift you into a parasympathetic state, which is where you're relaxed and calm and everything works. Because when you're in fight or flight, all your non-essential systems shut down, which include your digestive system and your reproductive system.
Yeah. Hence why it helps with fertility, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So you decided to sort of specialize more in women's health. So talk through with me a bit about that decision.
It was demand. I mean, I love doing pain and musculoskeletal. You know, I love sport myself and have numerous injuries. And so I really enjoy that. But then the amount of women that were coming saying they wanted to get pregnant, couldn't get pregnant, were having period pains, were having hormonal migraines, so we're having stuff that was much deeper level. And so I very quickly realized I had to up my game, up my knowledge. So I went back and you basically don't stop training with this.
Mm.
And so the women's health has been just built upon and built upon. And as science progresses, so does our understanding of how acupuncture can work. So we try and be very integrative in our medicine. And so taking very scientific research so we can keep up to date and do everything that we can for our clients who may have very, very complex health needs, including immunological problems, like many do.
And have you seen a rise in health issues in the time that you've been doing this job?
Yeah, exponentially. It's just, especially the reproductive immunology, where people are having their bodies attacking itself. That has gone up. Maybe in the early days, I would maybe see one person a year, and now it's almost every client that comes in
Wow. So it really
is
has.
having a problem. And if it's not the women, it's the men, because 30 to 35% of fertility problems are male factor. So you have to, it's not just a female problem anymore.
Wow. And do a lot of your clients come via word of mouth because you've helped somebody that they know?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's lovely. And when you have that recommendation, it's very touching. It's really somebody trusts and is thankful that you've been able to help them in whatever way, even if they haven't been able to have a baby, because sometimes that does happen. It just doesn't happen. That they're so much healthier, they're so much better, that they'll still recommend you.
Well, that's amazing. So a lot of the work you're doing is obviously face to face because, acupuncture being one of the therapies that you offer. But you also mentioned to me that you can work with people online. So how does that work? How can people access help from you online?
So as a herbalist, and you can see I've got my lovely pharmacy behind me. So I have my raw herb pharmacy and my granule pharmacy. So we can do video consults, and we can then send herbs through the post, and we maintain a dialogue very, very regularly, because it's a very, very powerful medicine. It's not just, oh, here you go, Debbie, here's 3 months worth of herbs, I'll speak to you in 3 months. We can't do that because it would not be professional. So every couple of weeks, we check in, make sure everything's okay, and then resend more herbs out. So I'm treating people at the moment in Scotland. I've got somebody in Ireland, and I've got people in South London who can't come up. So
Wow.
it works really well.
So you're able to access people from, well, I guess you could even work internationally with people, couldn't you? You know.
You can, except the cost of sending things through the post
Yes.
is
Yeah.
actually now quite prohibitive, sadly, because I used to treat people in Europe, and it
Too
just
too expensive now.
it's just impossible now.
Yeah, no, that's a problem that a lot of businesses are faced with now. So your clinic is based where it's in Harlow, isn't it?
Harlow in Essex, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. So let's talk a bit more about what sort of things have helped you grow and establish your business over the years. So what things, if people are listening to the podcast and they're in that early phase of their business, what sort of things have really helped you keep you going, keep you motivated for 26 years? It's a long time.
It is a long time. I feel really old. Um, I think having a really good network around you,
Hmm.
having people who are on your side, who you can bounce problems off, ideas off, successes off. It's really important to share those. I was took me many years to be able to say out loud that I'm good at what I do.
Mm,
It felt it felt weird, and you have to be able to say it without there being an ego.
mm,
But I think when you've been in practice for a long time, there has to be a level of actually you do know what you're doing, and you are good at what you do. So having people who will champion you, who will support you, has been invaluable. So supervision, um, close network of friends, constantly doing CPD, and not just being in your own bubble, because that's very easy as a solo practitioner or
mm.
solo entrepreneur, that you're very isolated, and that can be a very lonely place to be.
Have you been to sort of networking groups and things like that as well?
I have started reattending. I used to very early on go to some of the big ones and
Mm.
found them quite disheartening, actually. I stopped going. I didn't like them. So they didn't fit with my business at the time.
Hmm.
The 6 a.m. starts and having to wear a suit was
No,
not my thing, I'm afraid.
no.
Um, so a lot of the newer ones that are out, some really amazing groups that focus on women business owners are
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. And I think we'll have a lot of women that are doing therapies that can work alongside yours, and that's great cross referral opportunities, isn't it? Um, let's talk about some of the success stories that you've had, because for those people listening on the podcast, Nicola has a gallery of babies behind her that she's played a part in those little human beings coming into this world. Is there any particular stories you want to share with us?
I think the ones that always stick out are the couples that come who've been trying and trying and have reached a point where they're at the end of their journey, at the end of their fertility journey, and we go back to start. So they maybe haven't seen me at all. So they've maybe done 4 or 5 rounds of IVF. Now, if you think that that averages out between £8,000 and £10,000 per round, if you're
Very
paying
expensive.
privately,
Mm.
that's not including time off work. That's not including anything. And we go back and we ask for tests. We ask for blood tests. We get everything done to rule out problems. We then find out that they've got issues. And some of these IVFs were never going to work in anyway. The IVFs were never going to have worked because the underlying issues that they hadn't been uncovered. And so, in the way that I work and how we really delve deep into people's problems, it's like a Sherlock Holmes, if you like. So, we're having to really put all the pieces together so we can say, right, let's get you sorted. And then when you have your next IVF, because the majority of people I work with do have IVF. As much as it's lovely to do natural fertility, the complex cases that I get are IVF. And so they're by having the acupuncture that improves their chances. So I've got multiple twins on my board from people who literally said, "You're my last hope." We worked with them. One couple I worked with for 18 months until they were ready to have their final IVF round, and they've now got twins.
Wow.
So there, it is a long road. It takes a lot of work, but if your body isn't healthy, your body can't sustain a pregnancy, let alone taking a pregnancy to term. The end goal is a baby, not a pregnancy.
Yeah,
And
that's it.
that's where often it's forgotten, is the desire to be pregnant. You're going, but that's just part of it. It's so there's I've got some amazing people I've worked with, really, really wonderful people that and then they come in, and what's lovely is they bring their babies in. So we get to see them. I get cuddles.
Oh, that's amazing. And then, of course, you're going through life with some of these women, and presumably new clients come along as well that are going through the menopause, because this is now a big situation where people are talking about it far more than they've ever done.
Yes. Yes. It's I have quite strong views on it, and I think that, and this is maybe not going to be a popular opinion, but I think HRT is overprescribed.
Yeah.
There are, due to the way the NHS unfortunately is not running very well at the moment, women aren't being given the correct diagnosis, the right tests, and it's just very easy to put somebody on HRT without actually finding out whether it's appropriate and are there other ways to deal with their symptoms. So for some women, HRT is an absolute lifesaver. And I would never say don't take it, but I think there's also other ways to manage symptoms. At the end of the day, menopause is not an illness. It's like puberty. You go through puberty. Women go through menopause. It's natural. But you don't have to have an awful, horrific time of it either. There's ways to manage it. So yes, so a lot of my women I see from their early 40s, often as they start to go into perimenopause, and then keep going the other side.
So there are ways that women can manage this without going on HRT, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, for many, we do acupuncture monthly if they're stable, and it manages hot flushes, which is I don't see so many sweating issues, but hot flushes, anxiety, brain fog, sleeping issues. If you can get all that sorted, then the menopause can be a much easier thing to have to navigate through. If you don't sleep, you feel awful. And that's one of the big symptoms that happens.
And so you could have acupuncture alongside some herbal remedies. Would you
Absolutely.
recommend that as a good combination?
Yeah.
And presumably some of these herbal remedies have been used for thousands of years for this.
Yeah, exactly. They haven't changed. We're using
No.
the same formulas that they used, in ancient China, which is brilliant.
It's fascinating. It's such a fascinating topic.
Shame
So let's
I
talk
didn't
about
send you some. I could have tasted some while you were on.
oh, that was online. Let's talk about awards, because it is the Business Awards show, as much as I like to be nosy and ask all the questions about your business. So talk me through what your thought process was applying for the Best Business Women Awards last year, and how did you find the whole process?
So I really had to push myself out of my comfort zone to even enter an award.
Mm.
I had very mixed feelings about it. I didn't see the point of them for years. But doing some business coaching, I realized that actually it can put you on a different playing field in terms of elevating your exposure. So even the fact if you're nominated is massive. And
Mm.
in the complementary therapy world, people don't, because they kind of keep their heads down and just get on with it, and actually it makes a big difference, I think, if having it on my website that I've got through to a final or even won an award. Yeah, I'm very proud of that now, and so it was quite special to even be recognized. And it's, I think, more complementary therapists should have a look at that.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because we've had conversations with complementary therapists over the years, and I think it's exactly what you say. A lot of it is a confidence thing. And they also feel, oh, I'm not a big business, I just work for myself. And actually, you're doing such amazing work, critical work, really, I would like to put it like that, that it's a shame that people don't put themselves forward and stand up above the parapet and share what they do.
Yeah, there is a confidence thing. There's also, I think, for me, it was a little bit of imposter syndrome. I can't possibly compete against somebody else that's been in business or has got a big clinic, because I am by myself. So you do feel like, it's easier not to enter.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. And you came to the awards night, so how did you find the awards evening?
It was lovely, actually. It was very different to the one I'd been to before.
Hmm.
I thought it was very supportive. It was very encouraging. It was, what was nice was it's very female focused, obviously.
Mm.
And that just being in a room full of women who have achieved so much,
Mm.
it's really inspirational. And I'm sure everyone says that to you, but you're like, wow, I'm an equal to these
You
people.
are,
And
absolutely.
that's kind of a little bit of it's a little bit of a revelation, really. So you do have you do look at these women and go, my God, you've achieved so much. It's just wonderful. And some of them with no help.
Hmm.
And it just, it really uh, is amazing to see what they've achieved.
It's the majority of women, and this is what makes me quite sad in a way, because in one respect, I think it's incredible that women achieve so much on their own. But in another way, it makes me sad because women still don't get the same level of investment if they go for investment in their business as men do. And we don't get as much support as men do to power a business forwards. But it makes us stronger, I think. And, you know, my whole mission is to make women realize that you are good enough. I mean, you only have to look at that lovely gallery behind you to realize what a huge difference you are making to people's lives. And you may think, well, that's quite small, really, compared to, like you just said, someone with a big clinic. But actually, you've made a huge difference to people's lives, and that should be celebrated.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know, even if you've just helped one person,
Yeah,
that's
exactly. It's one
that's
person that you've made better. So what's your plans for 2025? What's on your list? What are you up to?
well, more of the same, really, and just putting myself out more. I made a very conscious decision over COVID to stop saying no to things, because I had not my self-confidence has not always been very good.
Mm,
So I have had a fear of public speaking, of doing anything that puts me in a limelight. And I realized it was holding me back quite a lot.
mm.
And this isolation, is you're just like, oh, I'm just happy doing what I do. And you're going, actually, I'm not, because I can achieve so much more. And so I stopped saying no. And I got asked on a podcast, and I got asked to give a lecture at a conference, and it scared the living crap out of me. But I did it. I was quite sweaty, but I did it. And so yeah, saying yes to things and going, actually, I'm not going to wait for people to ask me. I'm going to ask other people. I'm going to say, yeah, let
Yeah.
what can I do? What can I, how can we? push. So the clinic is is growing, you know, and I never not want to do, I always want to do this. I don't want to step outside of my business, which I know is a goal of many people. They want to not work in their business, but this is my, it's my passion, and I can't imagine not doing it. So it's keeping doing this, continuing with the growth at the same time, in parallel.
Yeah, I think, you know, that there's no harm in wanting to be the person that's the hands-on in the business, you know, and this is what I always say about the Best Business Women Awards. We're not just recognising women who grow their business and employ staff, but women who are quite content managing the business themselves and being the person that does, doing the do. Which kind of leads me on to what I want to finish up talking about, which is stress, because most entrepreneurs go through stress. And I'm guessing you see people that are suffering with conditions which are probably stress related. So I know you can't give a lot of advice just on a podcast in a couple of minutes, but maybe one or two little nuggets that you could share with anyone who's feeling stressed and a bit under the weather as a result of that stress, what they could do for some immediate relief.
Breathe. People who are stressed don't breathe properly, and they
Interesting.
shallow breathe, and deep breathing helps to reset the nervous system. So meditation for stressed people is actually some of the worst advice you can give, in my opinion. Meditation when you're heightened and on alert, people can't do it, and then they get stressed because they can't do it. So I don't recommend meditation unless you're used to it. But breathing and slow breathing in something called box breathing is very effective. And it's simply you breathe in for a count of 4, you hold it for 4, you breathe out for 4, you hold for 4, and you repeat that. And that calms your nervous system down. So it can help with sleeping, it can help with if you're feeling panicky, if you're stressed. So yeah, breathe, because it's quite useful.
Brilliant. And any other tips?
Yeah, get some treatment. You know,
Mm,
women are very bad at self-care. Mothers are very bad at self-care because they feel guilty that they're not spending the time or the money on their children or their families. If you don't look after yourself, you are not going to give your best to your family or to the people or to your business. So some self-treatment, some massage, go and have a face, whatever it doesn't matter what it is. Go and get your nails done. Have acupuncture course would be the best thing to come and have. But you know, it's really important to, if you're expending a lot of energy, you need to put something back. You've got to feed that fire. You've got to provide that. And if you're exhausted, you're not going to be your best, you know, your best self.
so true, isn't it? You can't pour from an empty cup. I always remember my gran saying that to me.
Fill your bucket up.
So
And like,
true.
what do you do to fill up your bucket? There we go.
Fascinating. Well, thank you for joining me today, Nicola. We'll make sure that Nicola's details are in the show notes for the podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, we'll make sure all her details are in the description. So you can contact her for advice on her treatments. It's been fascinating talking to you because 26 years is an awful long time to be in business, and not many people get to that. We are in the top something like 3%. It's only about 97% of businesses fail, I think, in the first 5 years now. So, you know, we've made it, Nicola, because I'm 27 years, you're 26
And
years.
through COVID as well. I mean, that
I
was
know. That must have been awful for you because I guess you had to shut the clinic down.
yeah, legally it was very difficult because we weren't allowed to work because
Mm.
there's some very interesting regulations around acupuncture. Basically, there aren't any. It's not a protected treatment. It's not like physiotherapy or osteopathy or chiropody. And so we're not protected, which therefore we weren't considered essential, which was very sad. So I had a lot of clients who deteriorated quite a lot over that period of time
Yeah.
because we could work. Um, and I was doing Zoom calls with clients doing acupressure appointments.
Thank you for joining me today.
Thank
It's
you so
been,
much for having me.
oh, it's been great. And I wish you continued success with your business.
So much. Yeah, look forward to seeing you at the next award.
Thank you.
Take care.